All select board members, new and old, are here, along with the town manager and treasurer. Let's begin with the pledge of allegiance, folks. I'm from the back. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I understand that that Lauren and Steve have not taken their oaths of office yet, so let's go ahead and proceed and get them sworn in.
Okay. Let's stand up first. Want to do it right here? All right, raise your right arm. Okay, I,
I,
Steve Saunders,
Steve Saunders,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and obey the laws of the United States
and of the state of Maine,
and of the state of Maine,
that I will in all respects
that I will, in all respects,
observe the provisions of the ordinances and policies,
observe the provisions and
the ordinances
of the ordinances
and policies
and policies
of the town of
of
Wayne,
the town of Wayne,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of select board.
of select board.
So help me God.
So help me God.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Right arm. I, Lauren Mateo, do solemnly swear or affirm
Do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
and will obey the laws of the United States
and will obey the laws of the United States
and the state of Maine,
and the state of Maine,
that I will in all respects
that I in all respects
will observe the provisions
will observe the provisions
of the ordinances and policies
of the ordinances and policies
of the town of Wayne,
of the town of Wayne,
and will faithfully discharge
and will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office of select board.
the duties of the office of select board.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Okay, congratulations.
Hey, welcome aboard. Thank you.
Put your signature.
So I suggested that we start our business tonight, maybe with each of us giving a brief introduction of ourselves, so we can know each other better, and that can better inform our next order of business, which is selecting officers for this year. So since this was my idea, I guess I'll start. I'm Henry Steck. I've lived here year-round, not that long, since about 2019. We've been visiting Wayne for many, many years. My wife's parents were Richard and Blanche Filer. I've been on the select board for the last couple of years. Before that, I was on the Board of Appeals for a little while. My background, many years ago, I was an Air Force contracting officer and was a lawyer that did Air Force contract. And then I practiced law in Texas for probably 30-some years, doing mainly construction contracts and other government contracts. That's about it. Tells you, I don't know if we, as far as training goes, I have degrees in business administration and public administration and law. And that's it. You're next.
I'm next. My name is Tom Moran. My wife Annie and I live on Main Street, 133 Main Street as you're coming into town from the Winthrop side, if anybody doesn't know this. We've also been visiting Wayne for a long time before moving here. My wife's sister had married and bought a house up here. My in-laws wound up buying a house across the street. And I got stuck living across the street from my in-laws. We bought our house up here, not planning to, but there was a for sale sign. We looked at the property. We just fell in love with it. So 2017, we bought a house. We've been up here full time since 2020. Continuing the personal side, we have 4 boys and we have 3 granddaughters, and our oldest with his wife and our 3 granddaughters are showing up. I don't need to look at my watch. They're coming Friday. So I've got a little bit of still some time to get ready for that. On the professional side, I've spent the last 30 years working for life sciences organizations, med tech and pharma and biotech and CROs, always on the vendor side. So relationship management, open accounts, contract management, annual reviews, executive sessions, et cetera, et cetera. So I continue to do that. I'm still working at that job for the foreseeable future, as long as we still have projects, but not that much longer. And I think that's it. I think that's all the notes that I put together on that. Hazel?
All right, I'm Hazel Stevenson. I live on the Pond Road with my husband David. I've lived in the town of Wayne for over 40 years. I just retired a month ago. I've had a lifetime career in information technology. And for the last 6 years, I was a director of applications for the state of Maine. So nothing to do with the devices, nothing to do with the networks, everything to do supporting the agencies that support the people of the state of Maine in various agencies, including corrections and education. And I can't even list them, there's too many to list. Prior to that, I was the director of the IT vendor management team. So I would have had oversight over you, but even in my director of applications role, a large portion of that is with procurement, RFPs, contracts, and making sure vendors that are providing us IT services to the state of Maine are doing so appropriately. A lot of policy and compliance kind of stuff. And in addition to that, I'm a certified project manager, my PMP. And I have a degree in a bachelor's in computer science and my MBA.
I bet you know a good friend of mine, Bob Keane,
Probably.
TCS.
I have to think about that. So
Okay, thank you, Hazel.
that's
Steve?
me.
Steve Saunders. I live on Main Street. I was brought up in Bethel. I've lived here for 50 years with my wife Molly and my extended family. I spent 2 years in the Peace Corps. We did together right after we were married, and came back and got my master's in Spanish at University of Maine, Orono, and began a teaching career, which lasted about 30 years. I began at Kents Hill School, and I ended up at Maranacook when it opened, and I was there for on and off for about 20 years. My children, my son Sam has 3 children, and they all have been through the elementary school and the high school, working their way through the high school right now. I have been on the board a couple of times in the past, and have also been a trained mediator at various times, and been a board member at RCAM over in Leeds. And that's about it.
Thank you, Steve. Warren?
Hi, I'm Laura Mateer. That was my crazy family that was playing here. Those are my 2 kids, Ruth and Thomas. They're 3 and 5. My husband and I live on Lakeview Lane, which is right off of Pond Road. We bought the land there in 2017, and then we officially moved into our house that we built in 2020. It's an off-grid solar house, and I say we, but my husband built it, and I kind of just helped a little bit. Prior to moving here, I lived in Leeds is where I grew up, and so I went to Leavitt High School for my education. I went to Notre Dame for my undergraduate degree in political science, and I went to Duke for my master's degree. Right now, I am the budget director at DHHS, so I do a lot of work making sure that DHHS can pay the bills. I do main care forecasting. I make sure that the contracts that we enter are appropriate in the right size. And just really making sure that taxpayer dollars are spent efficiently and in the best way possible. Before I worked at DHHS, I was a fiscal analyst in the legislature. There's a nonpartisan office in the Maine legislature called the Office of Fiscal and Program Review. And so I do a lot of I did a lot of looking at various LDs in the legislature and figuring out how much it costs and kind of writing what we call fiscal notes so that the public can see how much different ideas cost and legislators can know before they vote how much it's going to cost the state. So I have a background in finance policy, at least from the government accounting perspective, and really hope to bring that to the board as well.
Okay, thank you all. We'll move on now and, open it up to, board members for any, nominations for, chair for this coming year. Anybody?
I'll make a nomination. I know that Henry Steck has said that he does not wish to be nominated and won't accept any nominations. And I honestly don't believe it would be at all fair, personally, to have a new person coming on board, for you guys to have that put on you right away,
Thank you.
even with some new elements. But not to take anything away from the person that I do think would be a very strong chair would be Hazel Stevenson. So I would nominate Hazel Stevenson as the chair.
I'll second that.
Hazel, are you up for it?
I am. I initially was not going to, and I reflected and I went and collected some facts and data and decided that
Okay.
I was willing to take it.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, all those who vote for Hazel to be the chair? That carries unanimously. Hazel, you are the chair. Would you like to take the rest of this meeting, or do you want to start the next meeting? It's up to you.
We'll declare a holiday. It's.
Can I move to adjourn?
You can?
No, we can continue. So the next thing we need to choose is not consider nominations for the select board vice chair. Do we have any nominations for vice chair? And I understand from Tom that Henry has declined any opportunity to take an office, but I'm looking at him to confirm.
Yes, that is true.
Do you guys want to be vice chair?
Motion that Tom stand as vice chair.
Okay, sounds good.
Second that.
Steve seconds. Any discussion?
Anybody not see all this coming?
Those in favor? Thank you, Tom. You've been duly elected as vice chair. So the thing we normally do next is there anything on the additional business that we need to add that is not included on the published agenda? Anybody got anything in addition?
Not to add it to the agenda, but there was something that came up last week that didn't get recorded to be on the agenda, so I'll mention it now as opposed to additional business. There was the initial summary from the meeting that Marianne and I had gone to at Eco Maine. And I've actually asked Eco Maine to check, I don't explain to everybody, right? But to check the numbers that I went back with, they had given an estimate of Reedfield. So I asked them to give a modified estimate for Wayne's participation in that, but so far the
So
numbers generally.
Do you
pretty good.
need an agenda item under old
That's-
business or
that
that's
it?
the
I'm
report?
just
You're just reporting out?
saying, reporting out right now, could wait till later, but it was something we were supposed to have on the agenda.
And that's your
Not gonna do it,
report
right,
right
that's
there.
it.
So
Yep.
we've accomplished it.
Yep, crossing both off right now.
Check, check. So are there any conflicts of interest for the select board with anything on the published agenda? No? Nope. Next thing we need to talk about is the meeting minutes from the select board meeting from June 30th. And they are in your packet on page 4. Does anyone would want to make a motion to,
To approve the meeting minutes for June 30th, 2026.
Second.
any discussion about the select board minutes? Seeing none. Those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Passed 5-0. Next item on the agenda is the warrants and donations. So first thing to talk about is payroll number 1. Can somebody make me a motion, please?
Move to approve payroll number 1 in the amount of $12,612.88.
Second.
Any discussion? Anything to add for that, Shannon?
This is still just wrapping up the last 2 weeks of the previous fiscal year.
No further discussion. Those in favor? Thank you. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is to consider accepting donations for the appropriation for Lad Rec Center. Can somebody make that motion for me?
Motion to approve accepting donations in the amount of $2,331.80 to supplement the existing for Lad Recreation Center programs.
Second.
Thank you, Henry. Any discussion? Any comment, Shannon? Those in favor? Motion passes. And now we need to make a motion to approve a donation for the existing Aging at Home program.
So moved in the amount of $100.
Second? Somebody second that?
Second.
Any discussion? Shannon, any comment?
No comment?
Those in favor? Motion passes. We don't have anything listed as old business, so we're gonna skip old business and move to new business. And we have a presentation from VHB Consultants for the flood vulnerability assessment.
Yes, we have Garrison back there in the audience. He's representing the Van Hoss, Boone, is that correct? Van Hoss. Okay, thank you.
I don't ever pronounce it.
VHB Consultants. And then we also have Paula Nassi in here as a representative of the steering committee for the community action grant.
Thank you. I'll make just a few comments to set the stage for the presentation of the final grant presentation. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming this evening. Just to let you know, a little background about this grant. In the summer of 2024, the Conservation Commission initiated action for this grant, which is offered by the Governor's Office of Policy Innovation in the Future. It's a community resilience partnership grant, and it's fully funded. There are no matching funds required for this grant. Initially, the amount was $50,000, but after it was applied for, the amount was increased to $75,000. The way it worked was that a community consultation was initially held on July 17th of 2024 to get community input about the topics for the focus. And with the help of GrowSmart, an organization that assisted the town in working on this grant. And the focus was decided to look at flood vulnerability based on community input. So about 24 people from the community came together here at the Ladd Center and discussed various topics, and that was the consensus. So then a competitive bid was put together, and VHB was the winning consulting firm. And a steering committee was formed. The members of the steering committee are Deborah Emery, Daryl Cowing, Taylor Stevenson, and myself. And the grant lasts for 1 year. I also want to mention that not only VHB was the winning firm, but also a subcontractor, Ecological Instincts. And that, I think, sets the stage for the background information. And so Garrison is the lead consultant for this work. And so take it away, Garrison.
Sure. Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Shannon. I have a few things to pass out to folks, but I'll just start by saying really appreciate the opportunity here to work with the town of Wayne. I myself grew up in Monmouth, so close to home for me. I've worked on lakes and ponds pretty much my whole life. Started in Monmouth as a courtesy boat inspector in high school, so have been working on the region's lakes and ponds for a long time. And in my free time, I'm on the board of the nonprofit Maine Lakes, which is a statewide lake advocacy organization. So really appreciate the opportunity to work here in the town. So I have some copies for the 5 members of the select board here that I'll just pass around so you can follow along. And I will follow up with PDF copies of the complete report that can be posted on the website. And then, I'll go back around and there's a few larger map figures that you can reference as well. But again, this will all be posted on the town's website and in the inbox as well, so don't feel like you have to memorize everything right this second. So I'm happy to, give a brief overview of what we did as part of this project. So the intent of the project, and Paul, please correct me if I'm wrong, but part of the intent of this project really came out of the severe flooding in the winter of 2023 and 2024. And some of the really intense effects that posed to residents of the town of Wayne specifically. And some of the inland flooding that happened, high lake levels, and residents being cut off from services. So that was part of the intent of this project. And so our charge was to really come in and try to as we developed the scope of work for this project, what we clarified was really that this project would really help to identify town-owned assets that were vulnerable to flooding impacts at the very basic level. So the project, as Paula mentioned, involved a steering committee, which helped to pull together existing resources, folks with existing knowledge of the impacts in town. And we worked with that steering committee to first work on an asset inventory. So one of the first decisions we had to make was, although flooding can impact anyone, anywhere, we really tried to focus this project on town-owned assets. So even though there's documented history of flooding on private roads, on camp roads, or main DOT assets, for example, we really wanted to focus in on what does the town have ownership and control over, and can potentially make some decisions on how to manage going forward. So together with the steering committee, one of the first things we did was really develop an asset inventory of the assets generally across the board that the town wants to consider as part of this project. And by asset, I mean everything from culverts to actual roads as assets to buildings and services that the town provides. So it's a fairly broad definition of assets. And then what we did to develop the vulnerability assessment is really, we needed to understand how flooding impacted those assets across the town. So in order to do that, we took, instead of really the scope of this project didn't allow for really intensive water resource modeling of all of the lakes and ponds and streams throughout the town. So in lieu of that, what we did was did some research on existing FEMA flood insurance study elevations, flood elevations. And what's important to caveat there, and is mentioned in this report, that those FEMA FIS flood elevations, if anybody goes to the FEMA website and looks up a flood zone, at least for the study that FEMA produced in Wayne, most of those flood elevations were not developed by FEMA doing really detailed modeling. What we found in digging through the FIS report was FEMA documented the historic floods. Most notably, I think 1936, 1953, and 87. And they essentially kind of backed into some 100-year flood elevations by documentation of those historic floods. So that's an important caveat just to get out of the way, that this doesn't necessarily mean it was precisely modeled by FEMA yesterday, but it's the best data that we have at the time. So the other big caveat, and what drove the vulnerability assessment, is if you go on the FEMA website and you look up your flood zone, I kind of tend to call it the crayon drawing of the flood zones, because they're pretty relatively broad and not incredibly detailed. And so when you get into it's good for a town-wide scale, but when you get into a property by property, asset by asset, trying to understand what the actual impact is. It's difficult to say by just simply looking at that graphical representation on a web map on FEMA's website. So what we're able to do is take the FEMA flood elevations, which are defined elevations for each of the major water bodies in town, the major lakes and ponds. And we map that against more recent, approximately, is usually data collected in 2020 or 2021, LiDAR data from NOAA, which is terrain, high quality terrain data. So essentially, what we could say is, for example, if we know from the FEMA report that a flood elevation is 286 feet, for example, what we're able to do is map that 286 feet on a much more detailed terrain. And so that gave us a much more accurate vision of where that flood zone actually is in relation to the shoreline of all these lakes and ponds. So using that data, we mapped the 100-year flood, and we've also in the FEMA report, there's a documented kind of historical flood of record, in which in most cases was about a foot higher than the 100-year flood. So foot vertical elevation. For Androscoggin Lake, the historic flood of record was about 3 feet higher than the 100-year flood elevation. So what we did is we have the 100-year flood across all the lakes and ponds, and then we have a kind of +1, or in the case of Androscoggin Lake, a +3 planning level estimate based on that historic flood data. So it's not necessarily pulled out of a hat, but it's pulled from historic FEMA records. So there's some important caveats there in how we compiled the vulnerability, or the exposure, I should say. And so then what we're able to do, we have our hazard that we're looking at is the flooding. We have our assets that we documented with help from the steering committee of all the roads and bridges and culverts and buildings and services. And then we're able to combine those and look at what's the exposure of a road or a building or a culvert to that flood hazard. So is that road overtopped in a 100-year flood with this updated terrain data? And again, I've got to caveat all of this is that, you know, it could change if you go out there and have very precise survey level accurate data, but from a planning level across town-wide, that's the level that we were working with. And so what we're able to do is then essentially say, well, do all these assets basically fall within the, are they outside of both of those flood zones entirely? Are they within kind of the +1 planning level flood zone, or are they within 100-year flood level? And that defined how we expose the exposure of each of these assets. And then what we did is with the steering committee and a few other community volunteers, we went through a sensitivity analysis where we worked with the group on essentially what's the sensitivity of each of these assets and what's the adaptive capacity of each of them. So very, very quickly, what I mean by that is sensitivity of how impactful would it be? You know, is the easiest example is like a dead end road. You know, sensitivity might be the highest because there's no way around it. It's a dead end road. If you've got a flooded road in that one spot, there's nowhere else to go. And then we talk about the adaptive capacity, which is kind of talks about redundancy and town services, or so imagine in that case, a town building, for example, is there capacity to move services to another building? If it's a gathering space, is there capacity to, you know, how close is the fire station? Could the town services get out there quickly and be able to set up a detour? So that's the capacity, adaptive capacity. And then essentially you'll find in there, we have a scoring matrix that eventually comes up with a vulnerability ranking based on all of that information. So you'll find, we have, the vulnerability ranking itself is on, page 26 of that report. And then you'll find, on page 29, a few pages later, there's essentially the priority rating. So the vulnerability is the result of that sensitivity and the adaptive capacity scoring. And then the priority takes that vulnerability, adds in kind of the exposure of where is this just within sort of the planning level flood zone, or is it in the core 100-year flood zone? And then essentially we come up with a relative priority ranking. So we have, probably about 20 or so assets across town that we ended up assessing, and you'll find in there the relative priority ranking, which essentially says, these are things that should be really pretty high on the list, and the town should be considering what to do about those, or do they just need routine inspection, or is it relatively low on the list and just needs to be, kept an eye on, especially after flood events, for example. So that's that's the basics of the report itself. And then there are some, we have some sort of common themes. On page 30, we talk about some key vulnerability themes of things that are really driving the impacts. So first of all, which partly is why this project got started, is some of the but dead end roads or limited access roads that create a lot of risk at very defined points. And again, maybe we focused on the town roads. There could be private roads further down that are also dead end that have impacts, but at least this is sort of the town's responsibility. We talked about, the challenges of lake and pond water level management, and we talked about community facilities and thinking about vulnerability of community facilities when the access to facilities. So this facility actually rose quite high on the list because with the new terrain data, the building itself doesn't seem to be at much risk, but it essentially, with our new terrain data, essentially becomes an island, and the access Gott Road here gets overtopped under certain scenarios. And so some of our discussion was around, well, if this is a community center that's used in cases of emergencies, what are the impacts to that if you can't get here? The floor might be dry, but who uses it if you can't get here? So again, sort of big picture, this is meant to be townwide to try to give some relative priority rankings across town and where you may want to focus future efforts. And again, things can certainly change with higher quality, site ground survey, higher quality data, and additional modeling, water resource flood modeling of certain watersheds or specific stream crossings. So there is a list in there, for example, of some high priority culverts or the road crossings where they are either, there's potential for overtopping. So it's meant to give a guide. And I do want to mention just really quickly, Paul mentioned we had on a subconsultant Ecological Instincts, who's based right here in Manchester. Jen Jesperson, I worked with her for many years. It wasn't exactly part of our scope, but we were able to squeeze in a bit more detailed modeling of a few, I believe 11 culverts in town. So of the ones we identified as kind of high priority assets, And that had some history of flooding issues or clogging. We had Ecological Instincts help us with some of the field work. And they went out and collected some data for us on culvert size, material, approximate location information. And we did some very high level modeling of, one, is the culvert undersized, or is the road elevation too low? And so we have in the appendices, you don't have it in front of you right now, but it'll be in the PDF that'll come along. We have a list of 11 culverts where we've already done some modeling to say yes or no, the culvert's undersized, or yes or no, the road is too low, and some suggestions in there of potential structures that could replace some of, if a culvert was undersized, just approximation of what size culvert could go in to replace it. So just want to shout out that we were able to, with the available budget we had for this project, we were able to squeeze that in, and I think hopefully add a little cherry on top to be helpful to the town, to you all, and helping to make some decisions going forward. So
Thank you. So my suggestion to the board is, we're gonna need to take some time to read this individually and come back and determine what our next actions or steps are gonna be. So with that in mind, are there any specific questions that you want to ask, right now?
It looks like it's pretty plain. You've got things classified by level of severity, clearly identified. Yeah, this will be an interesting read.
So we'll take some time, we'll read, and I'll work with Shannon, put it on a future agenda for us to take further action. And I'm just sad I didn't get page 2 with the recommendations.
Oh, just add one comment.
Sure.
I just want to punctuate the utility of the report for the comprehensive plan committee. One of the intents for this work was that it would be used by the comprehensive plan committee. And that was written right into the grant application. And in addition, the infrastructure committee would find this material to be extremely useful. And in addition, one of the Taylor Stevenson of the steering committee also commented that it would be extremely useful for future grant applications. And you'll find one of the resources that is included in the report is a list of grant resources that we could tap into in order to find funding for addressing some of the needs that have been identified through the work that was done through this grant.
Thank you.
We have a grant application guru at the other end of the table, so stick her on this right away.
All right, thank you. Moving on, Wayne Elementary School Committee update, and Teresa, you're up next.
Thank you.
Well, I thought I would just make sure everybody is aware that of the different entities that have been working on the elementary school issue for the last 3 or 4 months. They're in town. There's the Wayne Local School Committee, which I think most of you know about, that was formed as part of the consolidation agreement in 2009. So those are elected officials, and on that committee are Sue Spalding, Tegan Audette, who's brand new on the committee, just elected last week, and then I also serve on that committee. So we are the communication mechanism between the Wayne Elementary School and the community. So we meet with Principal Jacobs. We support the teachers and the students any way we can, and then we basically try and understand what the needs are of the school and the priorities for the community. So that's the Wayne Local School Committee. You all gave the charge to that committee to form a task force. I think that was in March or April. That task force was charged with looking at future options for Wayne Elementary School, given that we had heard that there was a possibility that the elementary school students could be moved to Reedfield from both Mount Vernon and Wayne, and that could be a slow closure of the elementary school by having first graders then in Reedfield and then second graders. So you all asked us to form that task force, which we did. There are 8 people in that community. Lauren is one of the co-chairs with Jeannie Burnett, And the other people are Sue Spalding, Holly Stevenson, Jane Andrews, Stan Davis, Lynette Stiniford, representing the Comprehensive Planning Committee. And then I'm on that. Did I get everybody?
I think so.
Then the other charge you all gave me was to represent the town of Wayne on what they call the Plan to Plan Committee. And that Plan to Plan Committee was charged with hiring the consultant for the strategic plan for the RSU. So that's the plan that will guide the future work of the RSU. So we met 2 or 3 times. Jane Andrews was a really big help with this. We had to score all these different consultants that were possible consultants for this work, and the Plan to Plan Committee chose the New England School Development Council that's based in Marlborough, Mass. I have to say I was the only dissenting vote on that in the end. I preferred the other consultant, but I lost that vote. So right now, I think you all know that the town approved funding for a consultant to work with the task force to look at all of our options, including staying in the district, is one of the key options. And that consultant has been hired. And that consultant is working with the task force, so that task force that was set up in the community. Lauren, I don't know if you want to add anything to that about the task force and the consultant.
No, I think we went through a process and we met with a couple different consultants, got their information, and this is the one that we decided would be the most applicable to our situation and could help us the most.
So we hired Connie Brown, who's worked with quite a number of small elementary schools in the state of Maine. She's, I think, former superintendent in Winthrop and Augusta. So,
And currently one of the island school, Islesboro.
yeah, Islesboro superintendent. So that's the task force working with Connie. I want to thank Shannon has set up a place on the town website now for the local school committee agendas and our minutes. So they're up there if anybody wants to look at them. Tomorrow we have a July meeting with Principal Jacobs with a number of agenda items on that list, if anybody wants to look at those. And then I just got off the phone with the superintendent to clarify how people will be chosen to be on the, what she's calling the community planning committee, which is basically the strategic planning group. So it's not clear yet if there's going to be equal representation from all the towns. But what she said is they're trying to decide if you're a teacher and you're from Manchester and you're also a parent, and you're also an involved citizen, how are they going to sort out the different hats that people will play in the community, basically, in the end? So they've decided that they're bringing the Plan to Plan Committee back, which is about 7 of us. And we are going to be charged with, in the end, choosing the people who want to be on this strategic planning committee. So by Friday, anybody who's interested in Wayne, who would like to be on the RSU strategic planning committee can fill out an application online at the RSU. Tell them what all your interests and skills are. And then the Plan to Plan committee will come together and decide how to sort out those different roles that people have. I have to say, Steve, I brought up your name as possible candidate.
Thanks a lot.
I say, for somebody who wears many hats at Miranda, so no pressure. And I think that's everything, unless, Lauren, you've been involved in all this too, and Ken, if there's anything else that I've missed.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Just one item, that is, in addition to the educational consultant, the task force will be needing an attorney. There've been a couple of interviews now with attorney, and that will probably be wrapped up hopefully by the end of this week.
Shannon, is that application due date on our website, or has that been
Which application due date?
the
The letter from Dr. Smith and the information about being on that committee, she said will be available by Friday, which I can forward to you.
Yes.
I did mention that you all were addressing in a letter, our hope that there would be equal representation, from the community. So I didn't know the details of what a final letter might be if it's coming from the select board, but. I know there's something that you would sent me, Shannon, that was a draft or.
Yes, okay. Yes, we do have a draft. I think the select board has taken a look at it. We did not add it to the agenda for approval. I didn't know if that was gonna come in the update. But if that's something, we can have printed and brought in.
The next time.
I don't know if that would be too late. But
Box ticket.
So that did not come up as new,
as an agenda,
it was not on the agenda.
no, I don't have it printed.
Henry, on this one, I'm gonna look to you for a little insight.
Well, is the letter the tweaked one that I had sent out, or is there another?
Nope, just
Ah,
the tweaked one you had sent out.
Okay, there, everybody should have gotten that on an email, I believe.
I think I brought a copy last meeting. Everyone had a physical copy.
I also believe that you can add items to the agenda with the consent of the board members if you choose to do so. And is there other, what else would you like me to chime in?
Public notice around it.
Well, the public note, you don't have to publish a public notice for meetings. If it's a regularly scheduled meeting, you have to publish notice of the meeting. You don't even have to publish an agenda. So if we want to discuss this letter, I don't think that violates anything. There's no prohibition because that item of business wasn't published. That's what I believe to be the situation there. So it's just like the item on an early item on the agenda. Does anybody have any business to add? You know, none of that would be published either. If somebody at that point in time wanted the select board to consider adding something to the agenda. So I think it's up to the board if they want to make any consideration of this today. If we don't have a letter to look at, then it makes it a little bit difficult to say, yeah, let's send the letter out.
So three of us saw it. Well, first of all, do we want to talk about this as a board? Anybody
I think
against?
it's a good idea to talk about. I mean, it's very time critical, right?
Okay, so we'll talk about it as a board. Three of us saw the letter. Was it shared with our two new members?
No. Not.
I mean, it was a relatively basic letter, just
Can,
expressing our desire to have.
yeah, Henry, can
Hang on a
you
second.
summarize
Yeah.
or?
It's short.
It is short.
Let me find it. It'll take me just a second, please. Bear with me here.
But one day to bring my laptop.
I'm gonna search for tweet.
June 30th.
Oh, is it June 30th? Okay, that helps.
I
Oh,
read
there
it
it
and I
is.
thought
I
it was a good letter.
Let's see if I can get it up on my,
On my phone.
I'm having a problem opening up the letter. So, okay, first off, I believe that Teresa sent us a draft letter. And one of the things y'all have to decide is in what capacity do you want to send the letter? I took it and just fleshed it out a little bit. One of the issues in the letter was that the Wayne representatives should be selected by Wayne officials. And I quoted some from the planning documents that the RSU had. and basically argued that the Wayne Town officials have the most direct knowledge of the skills and interest of the people who would be volunteering or be put on, and the community needs. And it also, if local officials elected or selected the local representation, that would enhance the public confidence in the outcome of the proceeding. With respect to equal representation, we've got 14% of the votes. We've got 14% of the students. We pay about 18% of the money. We want equal representation. I quoted from their planning documents and emphasized that this committee is an advisory committee to the RSU. And we're not talking about disproportionate decision-making authority, because the ultimate decision is made by the RSU Board of Directors, which we have our 14% on. So I said, it isn't about giving us a disproportionate say, which there has been a comment back from a Reedfield representative about that already in the back and forth between Teresa and the school board officials. So I suggested that equal representation is about an equal voice in the needs, but not about the ultimate decision. And that's why I said that sounded okay. I threw that out only to flesh out the letter. I'm not saying that I personally endorse or agree with any of what I said in the letter. I'm just making the letter, I was making the letter perhaps a little more persuasive and trying to tie it back to the planning documents that the RSU had issued. That's all I can tell you from my memory. If I could get it up on my machine, it's very short. I mean, it's a half a page.
Have it, don't you?
It doesn't show up as an attachment in the email that I pulled open.
I have it as an attachment, but my phone won't open it without me buying something.
I don't know if I can find it quickly.
It's July 30th or June 30th, rather.
Correct.
Join search. I bought it.
Ta-da.
So is the issue that we are under a timeline here of Friday?
Well, first off, I haven't studied these RSU planning documents. Okay, I'm gonna confess, my reference back to RSU planning documents are like AI stuff. I said, look at these documents and tell me what it says about this. I would hope other people who are on these committees in charge with this have studied those documents and are aware of it. They're going to put this committee together, the final committee. I thought they talked about like July 14th, Teresa. What were they talking about?
I think the decisions about who's gonna be on the committee will be made by the end of July.
Okay,
Yeah, so there'll be plenty of time for people to submit their names. And then the committee will review the names. And then what Karen said tonight is that if there's more people than they have space for, there's looking at.
it'll be like a lottery, yeah.
There'll be a lottery. So 14 to 18 people total on the committee is what they're looking for. And that'll be teachers, as you can imagine, students and community members.
Yeah. And here's what we said in the letter. Just bear with me here for a minute. Dear Dr. Smith and the RSU 38 Board of Directors, Wayne's Local School Committee has advised the Wayne Select Board that the RSU 38 Plan to Plan Committee, in conjunction with the district's retained consultants, has begun the process of determining the composition and selection process for the full Strategic Planning Committee. Given the long-term impact the final strategic plan will have on the lives of our children and the community at large, we take this opportunity to respectfully request that the following considerations be addressed in this process. 1, Wayne's representation on the committee, Wayne's representatives on the committee should be selected by Wayne Town officials. Wayne's representatives on the Strategic Planning Committee should be selected by Wayne Town officials because those officials are directly accountable to Wayne residents and are best positioned to identify individuals who understand the town's students, families, taxpayers, local school culture, and community priorities. This approach is consistent with RSU 38's stated strategic planning process, which is intended to identify and address the concerns, needs, and priorities of each member town. Local selection would give Wayne's representatives the necessary credibility within the community and would strengthen public confidence that Wayne's voice is being represented through a transparent and locally accountable process. At the same time, this approach would preserve the advisory nature of the committee and would not encroach upon or diminish the RSU 38 board's ultimate authority over the final strategic plan. The second point, each of the four member towns should have an equal number of town representatives on the committee. Equal representation from each of RSU 38's four-member towns is consistent with the district's stated commitment to meaningful input from the full four-town community before final decisions are made. Because the committee is advisory in nature, this respect is not about disproportionate control by any town. Rather, it is about balanced participation so that the superintendent, consultant, and the RSU 38 board receive meaningful input from each member community before the RSU 38 board exercises the final decision-making authority. Equal town representation would help ensure that the advisory work of the committee reflects the distinct needs, concerns, and priorities of each member town. It would also enhance the perception of fairness and strengthen community acceptance of the final strategic plan. The Wayne Select Board appreciates your consideration of these requests and looks forward to continued constructive engagement in support of a strategic planning process that is transparent, inclusive, and responsive to all RSU 38 communities. That's it.
So we can discuss it. Can we have a motion for the select board to send that letter to the superintendent? Somebody want to make a motion?
Can I make a comment about the letter?
Yeah.
After we could,
After we, okay.
I move that we send the letter to the superintendent as written.
So move.
second, any discussion?
Lauren?
Lauren?
Is there any way that we could put point number 2 before point number 1?
Equal first.
I thought point number, and we can put it any which way you want. My thought process is town representatives being selected by the town, man, that's pretty hard to dispute. And I want to start with what we're most likely to get agreement. Okay, if I'm saying there's a bunch of things I want to ask you, Lauren, I want to get Lauren to do this, and this, okay? I'm going to arrange that so I can start with yeses. That's just in my mind. I don't want to start with a no. And I thought, and so that's why I put that first, and I do think in the letter I got from Teresa, I think they may have been reversed in order. But I put what I thought was a harder one for them to disagree with first, but they can go in any order that y'all want to put it. It's your letter.
Get him nodding yes. And then Henry put so many words in there, they're just gonna keep.
Yeah, just gonna keep
No,
nodding.
Well, that's
Yeah.
my thought. That's why I put it that way.
Yeah, to me, I feel like point number 2 is really the important thing that we want them to be reading and thinking about, because if we don't have equal representation on this plan, then I frankly don't see the point of participating at all. So I think that should be the first thing that we ask for.
I think that's fine, but I would ask you this, Lauren. How would you feel about equal representation where they pick the representatives?
But if it's an application process, and so the people of our town that are already engaged in this are applying, and Teresa is on the plan committee and is helping select those applications, I feel a little bit more comfortable about it, rather than them just selecting random people in
Yeah.
Wayne, but.
It's our letter. We can change it any way we want.
Can you live with it the other way around?
Oh, yeah, well, I'm not sure how I'm gonna vote on sending it.
Okay,
The first point of it is, I believe when the select board takes a position as this is the town's position, they should have some indication that it indeed is the town's position. And I don't know that we have that, but that's the last time you'll hear me say that tonight.
Ken's got something.
I'll take Ken's comment.
Ken Spalding. Two things. One is, I believe that the initial RSU, the formation of the RSU was done town by town. So every town had to agree. It wasn't a weighted vote. They wanted to agree to the agreement. I don't know actually what the amendment process is, if there is any. But if they are talking about structural changes to the agreement in this, part of the charge for this strategic plan is about structural changes to the agreement. And if that's the case, it makes sense for there to be equal town representation. But
Yeah, I think-
don't.
I think to Henry's question, though, we need to think about what our role as select board is, and should it come from the select board? Or should it come from our local committee who were elected to speak for the town? Is that what your hesitation is?
Yeah, I just don't know what I don't know what the town's position on this is, and I don't feel too bad about this, because first off, I do believe it's the select board's business to see that agreements that the town participates in are observed in accordance with their terms and administered fairly. Okay? Are we being treated fairly under the RSU plan? To the terms of that plan is certainly something that is the chief executive officers, that's what this select board is, is within their role. Coming up, taking policy decisions on whether the Wayne Elementary School should remain open or remain closed. I'm not so sure about that, as far as being a select board position to decide that for the town of Wayne. This letter doesn't go that far. I don't think the letter, I mean, I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep one way or another about the letter. One thing I would ask is about this plan, making fundamental changes to the RSU organization plan. I understand they have strategic plans. They had a strategic plan for every 5 years. This is just a redo. This is like our redo of the comprehensive plan.
Yeah, we're way out of date.
Okay, but Teresa, this is a redo of this is a redo of business. And what do the old plans say? And what indication do you all have that this is a departure from what the previous plan, I mean, what did the previous plan say? I don't know. I haven't looked at it.
Big issue. I mean, I'll just say that I think that the way that I see this whole discussion is that we just want all the options out in the community, and that's what the strategic plan is going to be focused on. What is the future of education in the Maranacook district? And there's not one, like Henry, you said that, I don't think you're taking a policy decision to say the select board is voting tonight to say we think we should keep the elementary school open. You're basically supporting a discussion to see where the community goes with these topics.
So back to the narrow focus of our motion, which is, should we send a letter? Are there any further thoughts? There was a suggestion about flipping the second and the first paragraph. And we've heard rationale from both sides, but
Well, I think it's fine. I gave you rationale of why I put it that way, but I wouldn't have any objection to flipping it if we wanted to flip, if somebody wanted to flip it.
I have no objections to flipping it.
Yeah,
Content's there, and I get the point, I get your point, but I have no concerns about flipping it. Is there any further discussion or questions from the board, or are we ready to vote?
Well,
on the
my motion was as written, so we have to revise my mission.
Is
My
that,
motion.
okay.
Can I revise that?
Can you revise your?
Sure. I wonder, I guess I'm wondering whether we would refer to them, defer to them in how the letter gets written, and just approve the letter
Well,
itself.
Well, if you want to sign a letter that you pretty much don't know what
Don't
they're
know what they're
gonna
gonna say, I
If
know.
you want to sign a
That's-
letter, if you want to vote to sign a letter that you're not sure what they're gonna put in it, I guess that's.
Well, it's a little
something we can do.
shaky to begin with, because we don't have a copy of it.
But, what, if all you want to do is switch them around, we could have a motion to send the letter that was attached to the, 6/30/26 email. Rearranging the two major topics, one being, representatives selected by Wayne town officials and the other being 4-member towns having equal number of town representatives. We want to put the number of representatives preceding the town official selecting,
Multiple calls.
but,
And when you talk about deferring,
We
you
just
talk
found the
about-
letter.
yeah,
Okay.
all right, there you go,
All this conversation, I had printed off copies in a folder right here.
okay.
It's like, how did she pull that? I'm saying.
Out of my.
But like I
phone.
said,
Didn't you see her?
devices. I don't do devices and I don't do networks, so, that was like
Yeah.
magic.
And so Steve, you could just say, take that,
I'm like,
there's two underlying topics. And you could say reverse the order of them, so there's for the second topic with 2 paragraphs precedes the first topic with 2 paragraphs.
So for the purpose
And the
of,
final paragraph that we appreciate your consideration will stay the same.
I think you can amend your motion to take out the as written part of it.
Mhm.
And that would take care of it,
Yeah,
but it doesn't switch this.
And then we can
Oh, okay.
discuss.
Okay,
Change in the order.
I'll move, that won't work.
That won't work. Amend,
Give me-
well, we can vote on, we
Give
can,
it a try.
Give me a
You
try,
can vote it
Steve.
down.
can vote it down
Vote
and
it down.
and explain.
You can withdraw your motion, did it get
Okay.
seconded?
Your motion.
Oh,
I did get seconded,
Oh,
yeah.
it did, okay,
Yeah.
well,
Can you both agree to withdraw your motion?
I will second the withdrawal if
Yes.
you.
Okay. Okay, let's
Okay.
try again.
okay,
Okay.
I move that the select board agree to send the letter that we have before us with the instruction to the town manager to reverse the order of the underlying topics. Giving the last topic, which is each of 4-member towns should have an equal number. Put that before Wayne's representatives on the committee should be selected by Wayne town officials.
Second.
And then, you second it, okay. Now, could we have discussion?
We can.
Okay, then Shannon could change the letter and we can stop by the office and sign it. And once 3 of us have signed it, she can send it.
So we have a motion and a second to send the letter. Any further discussion?
The names at the end are from the prior select
Oh,
board.
well, fix that up,
Change
yeah.
that.
Fix that.
Yep.
I see a question from the floor, so I am gonna take it, because it's Teresa.
I'm just a little confused about who's going to do the selecting, so are you all, so suppose 10 people put their names in the form that Karen generates, or are you all going, when it says local officials, just so we know what process you all want to follow in the end, do you want to go to school committee? To, I mean, I guess the question would be,
So it specifies that Wayne town officials, it's not specific about who those are, that's up to the town to that the specificity, I don't think needs to go in the letter. We just need to agree we're gonna send this letter.
okay. And then after that, then you decide how you're gonna choose the people.
Well, I thought I understood you to say actually that in your consultation with the superintendent. What was the statement you made about selection by the town?
So I think the letter says right now the town officials will choose, will recommend people for the plan, for the strategic planning committee. So I just wanted to know process wise, if you vote on this and you all say that you want town officials to choose the members. We just need some clarity, I think, on maybe on the local school committee, or we the town officials that you're thinking of, and then our group would somehow come up with the names that that are submitted to the RSU. And we as a local school committee could look at all those and their qualifications, and I could then go to the plan committee and recommend what the local school committee suggested.
Can we hold that motion? We have that conversation. I think we need to decide about the letter, then we can decide about how we want to, how that's gonna get decided. Gonna move this to the vote. Those in favor? Those against? Those abstaining?
And that throws my vote in with yours. When I don't read if you look at our bylaws, if I don't vote and I'm not excused from voting, it counts as a vote for. So,
Well, I believe according to Mr. Roberts' rules, the person making the motion actually has to vote for it.
I mean, oh, you're right. No, wait, no. The person who makes the motion can't argue against it.
Point.
That's.
Regardless, we have a vote of 4-0.
Yeah, there you go.
Motion passes. Do we, as a board, want to answer the question about who will choose the town representatives? I believe Teresa said they'll be done by the end of July, so technically we have another select board meeting.
There's no doubt in my mind that group, Teresa's group, are town officials, and that they should be choosing and presenting to us who those people are. At which point we would rubber stamp it or whatever.
Agree.
Thoughts, comments?
Officials.
They are town officials, they're elected officials.
Yeah.
Local school board is local officials. Seems that's within their jurisdiction.
I think we're good.
Henry's looking up something.
No. I've already looked it up. No.
So we want them to bring the names to us that they recommend. Is that what I'm hearing?
For approval,
For approval?
everybody's looking at stuff on their phone.
Well,
I was looking at an email, from Dr. Smith,
mhm,
regarding how the selection will work.
yes.
And it states that the consultants will host an online interest form for the community members who wish to serve on the planning team. Then the form will collect all the respondents, residents, stakeholder roles and that they identify with, whether it's a parent, staff member, municipal official, community member. And then they will compile the responses into an organized pool for review. And that's where they said that rather than have the team selected by any one person, they'd like the plan committee to meet with them to review the compiled pool and finalize the team's membership. So I was understanding that it was the plan committee.
Yeah, and I think we're asking for
Local.
something different.
Yeah.
And whether that's gonna work or not, I don't know, but yes, what we're asking for, in my mind, is totally contrary to what she's told us they're gonna do. And as far as is the select board gonna select them, is the local school committee gonna select it? Somebody came to us saying, we would like you to write a letter that the town's gonna select these people. And I say, okay, how do you wanna do that? Do with the people that came and wanted this put in the letter, what's their suggestion on what local officials should do? How should the town, you say you want the town to select it. I don't think you mean a town meeting. So what is it that you want us to tell them, which is different than what they've already said they're gonna do? What we have envisioned in this letter is the RSU says for example, each of the 4 representative towns, each get 3 town representatives. And, okay, then Wayne officials should select our Wayne 3 town representatives. But that ain't the deal. That's not how Dr. Smith said it's gonna work. She says they're going to pick a group of, what was it, 14 to 18, based on various criteria regarding what they bring to the table. Their education, are they stakeholders of parents? Are they trained educators? Are they tied to the community to somehow get the best value out of this 14 to 18 person group? It's a very subjective process. And it's a process that goes very contrary to what I understand you all have requested us to request of them.
That's correct. And I don't think there's any harm in stating what the town would prefer in this
Yeah.
process in this letter.
Yes, and that's what we've done. Yes, with the letter.
And I think in the end, maybe the guidance that the local school committee will take is to find out who all the people are who are applying. The school committee can talk to those people and see what they can bring to the table, and then when we vote, I can have that in mind. When the vote happens, I guess that's the best we can do, but I do think it's appropriate for the town to state what they think would be the best scenario in this process.
So I think we can move without taking action today, because we don't know who's going to apply. And we don't know what the response to the letter is going to be, so it might be moot. And in order to move us forward, I think we can defer that to the next regular meeting.
So Hazel, Shannon's gonna, based on what we voted for, Shannon's gonna take the letter, change the
We
order.
ought to change
and-
the
and-
representatives.
And email us that says it's ready, come sign, and when enough of us sign it, she can send it out. Let's give it a day or two for people to get down there and sign. Is that
Yep.
fair? Yes, okay.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Approving an expenditure for tree limbing and brush removal. Shannon, what can you tell us?
So this was a kind of short collected bid based off of a time frame. So we have paving. We had it originally scheduled to begin July 27th. So I put out a request to 7 different contractors for tree limbing and brush work. At the same time, we also had the RFP that you also awarded last meeting for ditching and culverts. And so in preparation for all of those things, I contacted those 7. Of those 7, 2 indicated they were unavailable for the time frame that we put forth. 3 contractors couldn't be reached despite multiple attempts. And then 2 contractors submitted written quotations, of which we have one of the selection of the contractors in the audience. So that's Fournier Tree Services currently here. Poulin was unable to make it tonight. I'll make note that since this was put out in the short time frame, about a week before last, we have pushed back our paving, also with the ditching and culverts into mid-August and the end of August. We gave each of the contractors the same project specifications, which included the removal of brush and limbs within 12 feet. Some different clearances of 15 feet, of which we received from the infrastructure committee. Tree stumps and brush cut to no more than 4 inches above ground level. Removal of tree and brush debris from the site and coordination of any field concerns with the town road commissioner. So the 2 bids that we got back was Poulin Tree came in at $22,886. And Fournier's Tree Service came in at $112,000 and $112,010. So Fournier's Tree Service, their proposal included additional personnel, subcontracted equipment, including mulchers and crews, to meet the requested schedule, understanding that it was a condensed schedule. They proposed a start date of July 13th, so that would be next week. Very short. And they also provided references from several municipalities. Upon reaching out to them today, just asking for a little bit more understanding as to how they compiled their proposal. They sent back some photos. I don't have copies of them with me, but showing basically the trees cleared from the ground to the sky. Pretty clear all the way with, a rough estimate of lasting for about 10 years for clearance. Poulin, they coming in at about $89,000 less. They did still meet the time frame, starting the week of July 20th, so not next week, but the week after. But I just felt that, I mean, the significant difference, in cost. I felt that Poulin Tree Service would probably be a better recommendation just for the value to the town. And I did send you a copy of the proposals last week, as well as just a quick summary of everything.
Yeah, it would certainly look like a better value if all else is equal.
Questions from the board? Comments?
You mind?
One other note, I will make, notice that, I would also request that the board waive the purchasing policy for the sealed bid, RFP process, just due to the time frame that we were looking at. Now, I mean, again, that has been pushed back. However, these quotes were just gathered on the 29th and the 2nd. So it's a very short time frame in preparation for the ditching and culverts and prep and for the paving at the end of July.
So the paving won't begin for an extra month or so, right?
Yes, that got pushed back until the end of August.
Which may allow other parties to be available.
Possibly.
So question is, should we put it out to bid again with different timelines or just thought?
How quickly can you rebid it and get responses back in order to meet the timelines required?
It would take some time to put together a bid package, with the advertisement for bids, with the bid forms, with a potential contract. This is going off of the quotes. And then as far as still trying to prep, what I received in response from some contractors was just the season right now is very busy and the time frame. I mean, if we push it if I were to do it tomorrow and then try to get it back within 2 weeks, some contractors would say that 2 weeks is a short time frame to put a bid in. And then it's a short time frame to prepare and to get out and respond. I was grateful for the 2 that we did get quotations from.
You requested, it wasn't a sealed bid, but they were competitive proposals. And they weren't disclosed until the day came, until a day came. Now, so in effort, you don't have a bid security. But other than that, you pretty much have all the elements of a sealed bid. And I don't think too much about exposing prices and then going out and asking for more.
Yeah.
I would be more keen on going with the low bid. I think you're gonna have trouble getting people to bid fairly on your work if you take their prices and then shop them.
I agree.
Makes sense.
Doesn't make sense to knowing the bids that are out there.
And maybe it could have been done a little different, maybe, yeah, I don't know. But at the point that we are now on how to deal with the situation fairly, I'm against, personally, I would recommend against going out and asking for revised prices after you've exposed the prices of the two people who chose to respond.
And I can't justify that it's not a small difference.
Yeah.
It's a huge difference. So I think we should, for the town's best value, go with a lower bid, but
But you have, Hazel, you've got one of the contractors here wanting to talk,
all
so.
right, sorry, I was looking down.
How you doing?
Can you introduce yourselves, please?
My name's Josh Fournier. I'm the owner of Fournier's Tree Service, and the last few years, we've pushed very hard for town maintenance contracts and pushing forward. We've got 9 listed. I think we send them over to you and references. These guys have used us time and time again. And in that same thing, in that allotted time, I don't know, in your spec, there was nothing for certifications, there was nothing for traffic control, so for us, we have to abide by all the rules and laws, and you wanted the power line side done as well. So there's an EHAP program that OSHA puts out, that everybody within 10 feet of a guide wire, telephone pole, any wire has to have that certification. I do have a cold, sorry. But, and along with that, just the time allotted with a full 6-7 man crew, 2 people going, we had almost 30,000 in project flagging, which was more than Poolin's bid. Now, I know it's a huge difference, but it definitely seems like there was some stuff cut there. You know, you have to look at it that way. It's not just a difference. So it's like, you know, how much is this guy gonna make off the town? What corners were cut? And I'm not saying anything bad about another company. I brought some photos before and afters of what we've done for the other towns. And we go above and beyond in terms of trees that are going to be a problem, that we're sitting there. It's never gonna get cheaper for the towns. We find that it's an 8 to 10 year span before we have to go back and readdress these roads. Everything after we're done is mowable with a boom mower, which is significantly cheaper for the towns. So you guys can maintain the roads for the next 10 years. The last few times that you guys have had some roads done, they need to be done again already. You know, we've lost a few bids by small amounts, but you know, if you guys want us to do no flagging with no traffic beat ups, you know, there can be cost cut, but you're cutting corners at the same time. For us to stick our necks out, we don't cut corners.
And with that, my name is Scott Peacock. I do the estimating for Fournier's Tree Service, and we were just given the 6 rows that were required to be trimmed and brush removed. And so what I did was I went down each road and made my best guess and measured footages on what swaths of side of the road needed to be addressed. So I have maps showing each swath. So I took out major gaps, you know, obviously areas in open field, those footages get taken out. And I confirmed with Shannon that, yes, they do want both sides of the road done. Meaning the power line side as well, as Josh said. The other thing too was in the scope of work. The spec was to a minimum of 15 feet above the roadway. And that, in my feeling, left us open to proposing you guys a service that would go above and beyond, like he said. It wasn't only go up to 15 feet and then the 12 feet from the edge of the road. And, you know, by my estimate, not giving anything else to go by and not going around with anybody to specifically define the areas that needed to be trimmed. I wanted to make sure you guys got the full package and full value that, you know, with the attention that the roads needed. Based on my experience with 9 other municipalities and going through and, you know, scoping out work with them and knowing the rate in which we cut. So it was carefully calculated based on the footages, and that footage was 36,100 feet to be addressed between the 6 roads.
About 7 miles of road. And in those pictures, you'll see, we'll hand them out, you guys can pass them around, at least get a good idea of what we do, if that's okay with you guys. And of course, tree work is apples to apples on tree work, it's just one side of the room to the other.
For example, there, 2 from the city of
Allen
Allen,
way. It's
2
very hard to
from
put a scope.
town of Sabatis. And so
Especially if you're not.
this one in the town of Savannah, so it's kind of, that was just Google
Yeah.
Image
And we're not
before.
only
So the
working
second
for large
page,
towns, like,
Uh-huh.
that's the final.
Yes.
we do work for.
It's not ground to sky. We're not doing anything to
Yeah.
harm the tree. You know, we're maintaining a good canopy of trees that
Very
we.
small towns.
So.
We're not,
Pass
you
those
know,
around.
they provide their own traffic control, those smaller towns to cut costs. So. It's a little embarrassing seeing that difference in the price, but that's, you know, that's a full scope of work and you guys are not having to do this again in another 6 or 7 years when costs have all gone up again.
The best way to see how different these,
Yeah,
Apples up.
so it sounds like there's a safety and a compliance
So the
question
manual,
that's not answered. Did the bid say they had to meet?
the manual on uniform traffic control devices, that would be the guidelines that they would utilize. And there are state requirements for flaggers that I would expect both of the companies to utilize. And was made clear.
Do we have that in our package, that one out?
I don't think that that was listed, but that was a discussion.
Okay.
That was a question.
At some point in time, I think we probably need to go out with a proposal for a routine maintenance program that would be more comprehensive and would have better specs. What we really need is we need to clear enough canopy and brush for the paving to take place. That's really what our particular issue is right now. And I don't have any, I mean, I don't have any reason to think that the lower bid won't get us that. You know, maybe you need to go around with them and see exactly what was in their price. And before you make your final award decision, but I have no doubt that the $111,000 job would be much better than the $23,000 job. And I think if we're looking at a long-term maintenance plan, that's maybe what we should be looking at. What our real need is with our compressed time frame is we need to clear enough canopy and brush to pave the roads.
So bare minimum to get trucks through is what
Yeah.
they're. Okay. Or at least to the specs you gave. Would you guys consider an amendment to doing that? Especially where if she has to figure out exactly what's in the other bid, you're gonna have to meet again. Would you guys be open to just the two contractors going, you know, us revising ours? And then you can do a little more research into certifications if everything is being followed.
I think you need to check with Pullen. Is that the correct name?
Yes,
Pullen?
yes.
And I think the road commissioner needs to check with Pullen, would be my recommendation.
Mhm.
And see if their job is going to accomplish what the town needs at this time. If they say, oh no, there's more to this, then I would not have a problem about opening it up to both parties to put a bid on a more, maybe a better defined scope of, you know, I understand it may be better practice to take the canopy up to 30 feet or up to wherever it is where you save the trees, but it's not just, but we were looking at, we want the canopy high enough for a hot mix truck to unload its asphalt.
Yes.
So is that a conditional award, Henry? Is that what you're
No, it's not.
suggesting?
It's nothing. It would say, no, that Shannon needs to go back and talk to him and come back with a new recommendation. If she doesn't want to do that, I'd be happy to vote on what we have. But if there are concerns with the board that the $23,000 will get what we need, then maybe that needs to be confirmed before we approve an award.
So I think what we're saying is we're not gonna award this and Shannon's gonna go back and ensure that the low bidder is able to meet what we need and is compliant with whatever regulations you said were verbal, not.
Now, that may entail a special meeting.
And if we need a special meeting, we'll,
Okay,
we'll,
because
Post it.
she may, you know, we may not be able, we may not have the luxury to wait until the 21st of July to say, to say this, but we can have we could, you know, as we,
we can
yes.
talk about that, but that was the question. If
yeah.
we have time to rebid it,
Yeah.
and there was some kind of, well, maybe, maybe not, but I think, no action pending Shannon getting more information about this low bid. And then you'll have to tell us if we need to have a special meeting or whether we can defer it to the meeting in
Can
2
you do
weeks.
that this week?
If you were to defer it to the 21st, I mean, that would push back if we went with Poulin still, I mean, if we did go with
Yeah.
Poulin, then that would push them a couple of days. They had a proposed start date of July 20th. For Fourniers, if we went with them, it would be pushing them back another week. It depends on their schedule. But I mean, as far as the Poulin Tree meeting, the criteria, I know they did come by the office. They did request a map of the roads and I mean, I was going to go out with them, but just due to time constraints of what we were working on in the office at the time with closeouts of fiscal year and everything. I did not, but they did make a note, like the tree was already removed at 80 Innis Ridge. There were certain things that came up, and other questions. They did ask about the safety devices and flaggers as well. And understanding, and that's how I looked up the manual earlier, regarding the state and national guidelines for that and, the requirements for the flaggers.
Well, Shannon, if you're confident that they understand what we need and that's what we're going to get, and you feel good about that, and that's your recommendation, then I would say that I wouldn't have any reason to not support it. If you've looked at these things and have come to the conclusion that they're fine.
And they did look into they factored in, I believe they factored into their quote that Lucas was already maintaining certain portions of the road that they've already been out. And so they put that into their bid.
Did they factor in the flaggers and the overhead power lines?
I'd have to confirm that with them. And I'd confirm that with you. Is that part of the unit price? I saw on the last part, it said the town would be billed for actual time,
Yep, flag,
separate,
yeah.
in addition to
We
the,
didn't know what level of flagging you would require.
right? So in either case, it would be an additional cost if there was an additional cost with that.
Do we have a motion on?
No, we don't.
The numbers don't match, specific to distance covered, right?
Well, I did give a list of the numbers. I'm not sure how exactly they were specified. I know, like I said, Poulin Tree went out and drove them.
Yeah.
Fourniers, I would assume.
I did
went
the
out and
same,
Drove
yep.
them.
That was after I asked if the power line side needed to be addressed. And particularly on the power line side, it's in a lot of cases, the underbrush that's in the ditch, not the overhead trimming against the power line,
So
Which is 40 feet up.
I haven't read the RFP, right? The RFP went out. My own thoughts on if I was evaluating these, and I do that. Not for roads, but I would want to double check. I would want to read my own RFP again, see how specific I was. If we feel it was clear what we were looking for, then I would say, okay, these guys overscoped. And that looks wonderful, but it's overscoped. The only thing I have to go on looking at these two, beyond a guess that it might be overscoped, is the numbers. So if you look at quantity, these guys put quantity listed, number of feet, right? And when you do the math on the other one, it doesn't add up. And the only question mark on that is power pole areas, Lucas already maintaining factor into scope. Maybe that's offsetting some, I don't know. But the numbers don't match.
I do also have available maps of the, like I said, the sections of what we would try. If that's of any interest.
That way, if when you're comparing them, you know, I'm not saying you have to redo it. but
No, 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 and the numbers alone, the difference in the numbers alone
Number of
would
feet,
justify the cost.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. So still, it could be heavily overscoped,
Well-
but it's worth just checking if it apples to apples.
Well, there's not 36,000 feet of road, is there?
There is when you factor in both sides of the road.
Okay, so it's double sided, okay. See, they're talking about, the pulling tree is saying, I'm gonna do both sides of the roads. And then they give you the length of the road. Okay, so Pond Road, Pullen says Pond Road is 10,050 feet. These guys have 20,100 feet on their pricing protocol. So that's why their quantity should be twice.
It's not,
What,
no
it's
cases.
not even, okay.
Some it is and some it's not. So we need to move on. We don't have a
Yeah.
motion on the table. I'm looking for a motion.
I'm gonna make I'm gonna make a motion that we authorize the town manager to contract with Pullen for their proposed price based upon her double checking and concluding that it meets, that she finds the proposal satisfactory. So I would vote that we authorize her to contract with Pullen. And to authorize that the funds for that contract be released from the road construction reserve. Although we could make that release at another meeting. And if there is a question respecting the sufficiency of the work done by Pullen, then Shannon in her discretion needs to not make that award and come back and see us about it.
That's like
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Was that whole thing a motion?
long motion.
Let's make a short motion.
Yeah, I move that we authorize the road commissioner to enter into a contract with Pullen based on their proposal, but not direct that she do so. It's up to her discretion. She's authorized to do that.
Second.
Any discussion? You'd already seconded it. We did it. He got that first. Those in favor? Motion back carries. Next, consider the policy for the approval of the treasurer's disbursement warrants. What can you tell us about this, Shannon?
So this is just an update from last year, primarily just updating the select board members. Indeed. This is to allow, select board members to approve of disbursements for state fees such as, motor vehicles or, main inland fisheries and wildlife, or any other state fees that are collected, plumbing fees, prior to, warrant approval at the select board meeting.
So other than updating the municipal offices, are there any other changes?
No.
Anybody want to make a motion to,
I would move to approve the policy for approval of treasurer's disbursement warrants for state fees collected by municipality.
is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Motion passes.
I have one question. So on it, there's just a part to select, any one of the municipal officers named above, either or acting alone, or just one person acting alone may review a private, approves and signs such warrants. So one of those I would think would just need to get,
One person acting alone is what we've had in the past, is it not?
yes.
That's what Hazel asked, if is it just like we did last year, except for the names, except for the officers?
Yeah, I don't know the difference. I mean, honestly, any one of the municipal officers above, I mean, there's a checkbox there. I don't know if you want to check it.
Do we have the ordinance in our packet?
Yes, you do.
Okay. It's the first box.
First one.
The
Thank
first
you.
one is what we've checked in the past, is what you want to check.
Okay, thank you.
One just pointed out a slight typo on the state fees. I think that's a minor, she can fix that.
Mhm.
Comprehensive treasurer's update. Lynn?
Oh, we got to, we also, you have to do one for payroll.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Did I
It's the
miss
same
one?
thing she already told us, so, move to accept, nope, move to approve the policy on treasurer's disbursement warrants for employee wages and benefits,
With the first option checked.
with the first option checked.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Okay. Motion carries. If it's keeping me honest, comprehensive treasurer's update.
So everything that I'll update you on goes through the end of this last fiscal year, which is June 30th. Nothing has been, well, goodness.
Nothing has been on.
Nothing is audited yet, so these are all audited numbers that you possibly check out. That is Ned's school. So the first page that everybody should have is the undesignated fund balance calculation and comparison. The top part is the calculation that we adopted last year. So it is the MMA's recommendation of the calculation. So in it is the median of the three that you see in the center, which is based off of the tax commitment, which was booked last year. So the median is the 2 months average operating expenses, which is 832,000 and change. So that is the bar that we set for ourselves to match by the end of the year. At the bottom is the actual calculation of the undesignated fund balance. At the top is the definition of how to calculate it. Hazel, do you need my glasses?
Just get my eyeball focused. This is my near lens. This is my far lens.
All right, so the top part is how the undesignated fund balance is actually calculated. So the top two boxes is the total assets minus liabilities, including deferrals. So those two boxes actually total the same thing. So that's just for an illustration purpose only. So that gives you your beginning fund balance, and at the bottom are all your deductions from that. So all the special reserves, the non-lapsing, and the capital reserves are deducted from that. The one thing I do want to point out is you see the Lad Rec Center, that negative 18,000. That is just the actual fund balance. So that is not representative of what Lad Rec's balance would be. So when we talked about the reconciliation of it and everything that I did last year, so there's the general ledger balance that carries forward. So there's, I think it's 40. There's 60,000 in the GL balance. So add that to that 18,000, and that's the actual balance that we would be carrying forward. So the 40,000, I think I was plus or minus about 1,000 when we discussed what that number was going to be in the warrant. So there's a minor reconciliation that I'll have to do. So at the end of June 30th, you can see the undesignated fund balance is 967,000. So that does meet the requirement that we set for the threshold.
Now, Lynn, this 40-some thousand dollar carry forward on the LAD operating fund?
Yep.
That would be, is that a deduct from the 967? Or is that the 967 includes the 43, right?
So the 960, so that 40 is not included because this is just the special reserves, the fund balances, not the
Yes.
general ledger balance. The
I
general ledger balance-
understand, so.
Okay,
So, that balance that carried forward to next year, that's, okay, that's part of the 967. That 40,000 is included in the
Yes.
967.
yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what 40,000?
In the general ledger balance, we have a $40,000.
Oh, not on this piece of
It's
paper.
not on this because it is not included in the reserve accounts. So it would be considered in that top fund balance of this 1.7. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions on that? Any further questions?
Hmm.
Okay, the next page are our bank account positions as of the end of June. And just for, I guess, the edification for you guys. What we have as far as the structure is we have two operating accounts. One operating account takes in all the electronic payments. The other operating account takes in everything that we do at the county. So any checks, cash, anything like that, or credit card charges that come in that way. So we have two separate operating accounts. They're both on sweep. So we have two sweep accounts that will sweep those automatically at the end of each day. So any presentments, those will get swept and we get covered. Everything goes into those sweeps. Last year we did switch over to positive pay and analysis. So that gave us the ability to increase our interest rate. So we went from 0.85 to 2.0 something. And the positive pay is basically just the ability to make sure that we're not exposed to any online fraud. So we actually say every day, yes, this is what we want to pay. So it forces us into maintaining, that touch and feel as far as checks coming in and ACHs. So it does provide us with some fraud capability. So that's the top part is what we have at Androscoggin. The $160,000 that you see in the one operating account is also part of setting up that product that we have with the analysis. We have to maintain the 160,000. So then the other two, so at the end of the year, we had 1.8 million and change. At Androscoggin, we also have the CD for the fire truck. That does expire in July of, so this is July.
Yeah.
That's in like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that does expire, so we're gonna go ahead and pull that out. They're gonna put that into a separate account to hold it until we're ready to expend that, but that's specifically for the fire truck. We did put it into a short-term CD, so that way they could, better monetize, that money. We still do have some money over at Winthrop Area Federal Credit Union. The fire truck, I'm not really sure how, it just didn't actually close correctly. But there's still a little bit of money in that account. But most of that money is what ended up transferring over to Androscoggin to put into the CD. Lad Rec also has an account over there. We don't, as the town, we don't do any presentments or any withdrawals or any deposits into that. Lad Rec does. But it's not very frequently, but Shannon has all those statements going to her. Any questions on the bank accounts? So you can see, I gave you a comparison of what it looked like last year. All right. So on the next page, this is just a quick summary of how last year ended up. You can see the actual revenue and the actual expenses compared to what the budgets are. And then what our net cash flow is. So you can see that our revenue was favorable, our expenses were also favorable. And then below you can see where I kind of gave you a breakdown of how those categories played out a little bit. So I think I've mentioned kind of before how some of the revenue was being driven. So motor vehicles, the excise taxes, because of the increase in vehicle prices, kind of drove, that up a little bit. The interest that we were earning drove that up a little bit. So, and then we've got the FEMA money and the community resilience, that those weren't expected, but so they weren't budgeted, but it did add to the positive revenue. So, and then for the expenses, the main factor was not spending money on roads. which I think we're gonna take care of this. Any questions on that? So, and then on the next two pages, the first one being a revenue summary, and then the next one after that is an expense summary. That just gives you a little bit more detail of what I just showed you as far as the smaller summary of those. So you can see again, toward the bottom where I did say that the motor vehicle excise, that did increase, and then as well as the interest that we earned, and that was basically from changing the products. So those were the two largest drivers. So on the expenses, again, the same thing. The biggest driver of that was not spending as much on the road.
I, tell me when I can go back to undesignated fund time.
Whenever you'd like to.
Okay, so you just, you jarred my mind.
Yeah.
With what you said on the road. This $967,000. That is predicated on all of our unspent operating funds lapsing into undesignated reserves at the end of June 30th.
Yep.
And we have the unspent road maintenance funds don't lapse, but it's a reserve. It was forwarded into the road reserve. And the fire equipment is forwarded into a fire reserve.
Right.
So those balances are included in the 967, but they are really reserve balances because they automatically get put into reserves. They don't lapse. Correct?
Okay, so this is as of June 30th.
Yeah.
It has moved over.
But as of June 30th, the amount that was unspent for road maintenance, $120,000 maybe. It's a reserve fund because it was under it's forwarded into the road reserve.
It will be as of July 1st.
Well, June 30th, it lapses, instead of lapsing into undesignated reserves, it lapsed into a road reserve.
It
Right.
will. Yes, it
Okay.
will.
Well,
is not
it's
included
an
in this
instant. I
because
mean,
it-
we're talking about, yeah, okay. Yeah.
I
It's
mean-
not part of your, it's not an uncommitted reserve that we have available to spend on something other than road reconstruction right now.
Correct.
Okay, that's fine.
So that
That's fine.
967,000 includes the capital reserve funds.
No, it does not. They're taken out.
Yeah, it is taken out. I mean,
Yeah.
it's included in the calculation, but it is a deduction of the calculation.
Yeah, the 967 is supposed to be what we have left over after you consider all the reserve funds to handle our cash flow problems or some unexpected expense. Correct?
Right, these are the
Okay.
monies that we're basically, we're.
So like the
committing-
691 road reserve, Hazel,
Mm-hmm.
that's already taken out. That's taken out of the 1.7 million. So that's not part of the 967. What I'm asking her is that there's $121,000 that is part of this 967 that on July 1st popped back up to that 691, making it 7.
So it's not included in that 691 because it hasn't popped yet.
Yeah, it's not included in there, but it really.
So when it pops, it will be up there.
Right.
It happened automatically on the 1st of July. It's in there. It was always in there. It's not part of the 967, but that's okay.
So
I
the
can
other
understand that.
part is Lynn moving it.
Yeah, but the automatic, but that has, I mean, if you never moved it, that wouldn't mean that it was available for us to spend. It just means that your books are screwed up. Correct? I mean, really, isn't that, and they're not. You do a very good job. No, you do a very excellent job. But I'm just saying, if we want to know how much money do we have to spend on an emergency because somebody did not put it chose to not put it in the right column yet, doesn't make it available to us.
But as of June 30th,
Okay.
Is right.
All right.
as of June 30th, this is the calculation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
if,
okay. No,
when our auditors come in to do the
Yeah.
calculation, this is what they will
Yeah.
look at. We can talk about how the roads
no, no.
and the funds move.
Yeah.
We
Next time.
No, that's,
or, yeah. But yeah, in July, that move.
All right.
Oh,
You want to take us to the cash flow?
cash flow. So what I have done for cash flow is I've done a projection based off of the budgets that we were provided. I did an average of 3 years and spread that across. So that way we were able to at least figure out, how the monies, you can see that it's pretty much exactly the same as last year. The difference being that I did make some movements in the county tax. We had paid it in August last year. I'm pushing it to October because I know that we can. So that's getting pushed a little bit. We also had a couple of months where just timing of payments for the school, we had 1 month here and 1 month there where we had 2 payments, then a couple of months. So I ended up smoothing that out. So those are the front end little differences that you're gonna see. But you can see where we get the most of our tax money is in September. And it's usually toward, the middle to end of September is when most of that revenue comes in. And then you can see the other 2 little peaks on the graph. So again, as the year goes on, we end up bringing in less and less. And just to point out that the last payment that we receive for taxes is April 1st. So from April 1st to October 1st, the only revenue that is received is going to be through motor vehicle, inland fisheries, things like that.
In tomorrow for mine, so I'm helping out.
Fantastic. We do appreciate it. So where we have the tax payment smoothed out for 3 payments, there truly is a pretty large gap. So that's where, I get really nervous for cash flow. So you can see that it does kind of dip below in those first couple of months. But I don't feel that it's a critical concern based off of the cash that we have in the bank.
Okay.
Any questions?
just something to consider as an example, and I'm bringing this up for. Let's say our fire truck as an example on how cash flow works, okay? When the town votes and says we vote to raise and appropriate $100,000 for something and that's for the next fiscal year, starting on July 1st. On July 1st, that hadn't been raised. It doesn't get raised until later, in the year. And so if they raise and appropriate X bucks for something, and we say, oh, on July 1st, well, they voted for the X bucks and we spend it, that doesn't mean that money has actually been paid to us and we've collected it into our bank account. And that's the reason the unrestricted reserve, is that the right word? Unrestricted, undesignated. That's the reason the undesignated reserve is so important, because that's the money that has to take care of us, to take care of the bills that will come in before the taxes actually do.
Yeah. Okay. So the last page is just more of the projection that I have for this coming fiscal year. So, and again, it truly is just supposition. We don't really know at this point. I mean, I've made an estimate as far as what our tax commitment will be based off of the conversations that we've had. So that's how I base the revenue. And again, just off of 3 years average over the course of the months. So I have also done a reconciliation for the roads as well as a stress test that Henry and I have looked at a couple of times, if anybody was interested in seeing that. Just so we can have an understanding of where the road construction monies how it will impact us, seeing that those will probably be expended prior to receiving any of the tax monies for next year, if anybody wanted to talk about that.
Well, things are getting pushed back now. We may be into the end of September, actually. Is that not true?
Work, they're pushing the work to the end of August to roll right into the next line of work that they had for September. We had broken it down into 2 segments with the base bid for completion no later than August 31st. And then for the alternate bid would begin September 1st to October 15th. And so they're trying to put it all together essentially at the end of August and September, so then they can go from their overlay pavement into their base for after the reclaim. So we're looking potentially at mid-September. And then I would expect probably invoices shortly thereafter.
That makes me happy.
I know, it's good for you. That's that. It's our goal. It's our.
Anything else, Lynn?
Can I ask a question on the net cash flow projection for FY 26-27?
Yes.
Do you know what that number was to start FY 26? Or to start FY 25-26? Because they're just so different that I don't know if I should be concerned about the current negative projection or if that will even out.
What was their thought?
No, good heavens, why did I do that? I wasn't about to print this out,
That's
but
fair.
I'll let you see it. So at the very bottom, you can see all of the cash flow numbers. So that's for all of last year. I mean.
Thank you.
But Lauren, on this fiscal year, FY 25-26 cash flow projection of 993,739. That is belied, I believe, by the fact that if you really want to know what the cash flow was, what was the bank balance? What was the bank balance then and what is the bank balance now? And it's about 500,000 difference. Where are our bank balances? That's in here.
Yes, I only gave you year over year.
Yeah, year over year. So if the cash flow,
Page
if you projected a $900,000 cash flow for FY 25, you're the finance person, tell you this right. If you projected a $900,000 positive cash flow for that year, and we started out with $1.3 million, you would expect us to have $2.2 million at the end of the year. And we don't, we got $1.8 million. So it was about a $500,000, it looks like, positive cash flow. And so really it's not that much difference between the 2 years. Also, if we had a $900,000 positive cash flow every year for several years, that means we're really charging people way too many taxes. I mean, our cash flow should be we shouldn't have a big positive cash flow. If we have a big positive cash flow, you've taken too much of my money. We should spend what we collect. If every year we collect $500,000 more than we spend, that means we're collecting $500,000 too much.
Everybody sits in this room in June and says, yes,
yes,
we approve spending this money, and when
Yeah.
they don't spend it, we don't spend it, it's like, not woo-hoo, it's like, hey, I said I wanted you to do that.
All right, are we ready to move on? Okay, moving on, public comments, and just a reminder to the public, if you could please introduce yourself if you wish to speak.
Better say something, but sitting here a long time, I've been, you're nuts.
I just
You don't talk.
I just would appreciate a few minutes. I'm gonna leave this with the town manager. You might have guessed this is in reference to the fire truck, but I have a couple of thoughts and recommendations in here. Essentially, I went through and I started weighing all of the equipment that was listed in the fire station. I weighed individual pieces. I went online to manufacturers' websites to get accurate weights on some of the equipment going on, et cetera, et cetera. And essentially, I just took the 14-page proposal and I was writing down weights as I went through. I didn't feel like getting any fancier than that. But there's a lot of equipment that I didn't weigh because I don't have enough information from the lack of information in this very small specifications. But with everything that I added up so far, I'm already at the gross vehicle weight, and there's a whole lot that still isn't weighed. For example, the lower compartments that are shown on the fire truck, left and right, I don't have the weights for those. I don't have the pump panels, any of the plumbing or controls for the pump, the front suction. There's a whole lot of heavy metal material that I don't have numbers for, and I can't add it in, and I'm already at 40,000 pounds. The gross vehicle weight is 40,600. I'm a few hundred off from that. This truck cannot be built this way. So I put in a couple of suggestions here. Recommendations, I call them. First is, I'd recommend to include in the purchase agreement or contract, however it's worded, a statement that the seller guarantees that the truck will be under the gross vehicle weight once delivered to the town and fully loaded with all of the equipment that the fire chief has listed here. And the truck is to be weighed with 4 individual scales versus going to the Winthrop transfer station where it weighs a total weight. The 4 individual scales will give you a front axle weight and a rear axle weight, which will give you the true understanding whether this meets the specification or not. And it has to be loaded full of fuel, full of DEF fluid, full of water, full of foam. And NFPA requires that you use 250 pounds for each occupant for their weight in the turnout gear. So there's another 500 pounds there. And that this should be done when the truck is delivered. And if the truck does not weigh under the manufacturer's gross vehicle weight rating, then the town will refuse the truck. That's just a recommended or suggested wording for that, but obviously you can do something different. The second one would be, I'd also recommend that the seller to include a performance bond to protect the town. And the performance bond has been on all the previous trucks. Essentially, if this company goes out of business while they're modifying the truck and the town paid money up front, we're out of the money. Performance bond guarantees that if they don't produce the truck that they say they would under the contract, or they go out of business, then the performance bond is like an insurance. It will pay to have the exact same truck built somewhere else. We've done this on the last trucks because we're talking about a lot of money. And this is, 2 to 3 times as much as we spent on the last trucks. So I'm gonna leave this with the town manager. If you would forward this to them so they can look at it. And I apologize for the handwriting on the weights, but I just didn't want to get carried away because up to this point, I'm actually taking a fair amount of offense with the lack of respect that I've received in the information that I've delivered to the town manager and the select board. Everything that I brought forward are facts. I sat at the town meeting and said that the truck is longer and taller than any of our current trucks. The fire chief stood at the podium and said that's not true. And I can show you on his drawing and the drawing of our current trucks, it is taller, it is longer. And I have just felt very offended through this whole process that nobody is listening to what I have to say. The town manager spoke to me one day and said that she didn't need a specification for the truck because she trusted Taylor and that you trusted him. Well, where's the trust for me? My credentials here, having worked on fire trucks, designed trucks before, I work with neighboring towns going over their specifications with the salesman and the fire department. Where's my trust? I haven't received any.
I think last time you were here, I know I personally spoke to you and I said, we hear what you're saying. And we are going to take it all under advisement. That's not walk away and forget about it. I've spoken with Taylor and we've done nothing to act on this yet. I believe the kind of last word that came of this was before we do any approving, we're gonna make sure that everything looks to be the way it's supposed to. And that's gonna be trust,
Mhm.
but verify. And I'm
Right.
not sure what else you want to hear from us to make you feel less offended. We're going to trust you and Taylor, but we're going to verify. What can we do to make you feel less offended?
That statement helps.
Okay,
And I would like you to look at this and look at it. You can Google some of the information too to find the weights. These are factual weights. As a matter of fact, the range I gave for the cab chassis, which is just purchased from Kenworth, there's a cab with a steel frame and tires. I gave a range in there. One of the numbers I found was 3,000 pounds heavier than that, which means I'd already be 3,000 pounds over. I think the salesman, this truck was designed with 2,000 gallons of water. The truck is already built, but everything that's being added onto it is putting it overweight.
I think your suggestion also with how to appropriately weigh, I mean, have you shared? I would like to believe that you can talk to Taylor, even if you guys disagree, and you say, hey, not for nothing, but I have some thoughts. Because I know Taylor has spoken about you with me and said, he's valuable. He knows his stuff. He's a great mechanic. We just disagree on a direction. But I'd hope you would share this with him and he would say, that's a great idea. I should make sure that we do this.
Well, but you're the ones purchasing the truck. I mean, and without a specification, it's very hard to do a performance bond because you don't know what you're looking at. There should be a spec for the truck, listing everything out. That's the proper way to do it. So I'm happy to sit down and talk to whoever. I didn't know what process. I didn't know if you'd already signed an agreement. I didn't know where any of this was. I just wanted to bring that up that, it didn't take me very long to scratch out those numbers and realize, yeah, this thing's really overweight.
So thank you for your comments, and I think you are genuinely respected for your knowledge
Thank you.
and the information you brought to us. We didn't put the fire truck conversation on the agenda.
Right. No,
so
I just wanted to
we're
do
not
that.
gonna
I didn't want
have-
to take a lot of
yeah,
time.
Yeah, not gonna
Appreciate
get into detail, but
Right.
I think Shannon can forward that to us, and I would ask
And
that
forward
you
to Taylor
share
as well, if
share
you'd
it with
like.
Taylor.
It's an issue of, I just lost my train of thought, but yeah.
But no, you're appreciated
I'm
and
still on the fire department. I don't have a vendetta against the fire department or Taylor. I have no axe to grind. I've been doing this 43 years. I plan on doing it as long as I can. I have no desire to step away. This just is wrong.
so we appreciate your input. We will put fire truck as a agenda item and request that,
Special meeting with the
you
committee,
share.
whatever you like.
Request that you share your information within the fire department.
Well,
We'll look to the fire
I get a
department.
very cold response at fire department meetings. Matter of fact, when I showed up to the town meeting and there were several firefighters standing outside by the trucks, they all turned around and looked the other way. Because of my concern about this truck. So I get a very cold shoulder when I go to fire meetings.
I don't think that's anything we can comment on, but
Right.
appreciate your input and thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Any-
you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Anybody online, Shannon?
Just one person, no comments.
No comments? Town manager report?
So I'm just gonna reiterate what the Wayne Elementary School, the local committee stated that they have a meeting tomorrow night at the Wayne Elementary School at 1, or excuse me, not tomorrow night, at 1 PM at the Wayne Elementary School. The general code reached out and let us know that the codes project is now complete and our E-code has been posted. So that is HTTPS, semicolon ecode360.com/WA6819. And so I'll be publishing that on our website and uploading it to that. And that goes over all of those previous chapters that you've reviewed and been approved. The Comprehensive Plan Committee survey has been distributed through the Wayne email distribution list, as well as posting onto our town website. And so it is recommended and encouraged for all residents, both full-time and seasonal, to go on and
What's the due date on that?
I don't think that they've set one, but I will follow up with them on that.
I did it.
You did it great.
It's very interesting.
All right. The Strawberry Festival is scheduled this weekend on Saturday from 9 AM to 3 PM.
Looks like good weather.
Currently, we've got the bushes scheduled for trimming. Either it would be today or tomorrow. The lawn will be, get a final mow on Thursday in preparation for that. And then on Sunday, we have the household hazardous waste over at the Reedfield Transfer Station from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So far, we've had 24 signups. There are still some slots available, so if anyone's interested in that, we have forms at the office. I can also send it out through an email. If anyone has a specific request, and then we can put them in there. They can call the office. And I'd just like to recognize our tax collector and treasurer, Lynn. She will have been with us for 1 year as of next Tuesday. So she's put in a lot of incredible work at the office, and I just want to recognize her for that and say thank you.
Thank you, Lynn.
You can see through that comprehensive overview. Lots of hard work. And that's all I've got.
Board member reports. Lauren, we'll start with you.
I don't know what I'm supposed to report. I don't think I have anything. Okay.
Steve?
Nothing for me, thanks.
I'm just gonna thank Henry for his leadership in the last year as the chair, and appreciate the job you undertook. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if you need anything, let me know.
That's what I was hoping you were gonna say. That was cue the prompt. Thank you, Henry. Tom?
No, I opened up with that Eco Main situation, but I'm waiting for a response on that so that I can share with the group.
And Henry?
Shannon, do we have a signed fire truck contract?
We had a pending town meeting agreement on a price with expectation for third quarter of this year. And so that is just to secure the price in order to take it to town meeting.
Okay, now it went to town meeting and it got approved. Do we have a contract for a fire truck?
We signed an agreement. I've got to go back and review all of the.
It sounds like a different answer than the question.
Yes, I would say that there is a contract. Pending.
Now. I'm going back to the old man thing, but I'm really sincere about it. Was I sleeping? I know we approved we told Taylor we would approve recommending the funds. Did anybody approve signing the contract?
In that meeting, I believe it was subject to select board approval.
Yeah.
To go to contract, right?
And I haven't read the document, so I don't know. I don't know that. I'm not saying, don't take me as saying we have a contract. But I know I heard that we've got this thing that says subject to funding, and that funding has been funded. And so I don't know what actually it says, or who signed it on behalf of the town.
I'll go back and send you what we've got.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I'm not saying we have one. That's what I was asking if we do.
Thank you. With that, I believe we're at a point where we can make a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor? Thank you.